Made possible through support from ARC Thrift Stores, CCDC, Colorado Cross Disability Coalition, Developmental Pathways, PASCO, Personal Assistance Services of Colorado, and the Arc of Aurora. A Think Change training.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another discussion, vodcast, podcast coming at you from Think Change. We have Callie, Jeff, and me, Petrie. We are advocates with the Arc of Aurora. Another installment today in our series, which is supporting self-determination. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what people need to know about guardianship. And this is a really important subject matter that I think a lot of people struggle with. So Jeff, why don't you start us off on kind of deciding when it's needed and what those responsibilities look like?
Okay. Well, a lot of people think it's needed, but the court's actually going to make that determination. But really what you're looking at, if you're talking about needing a guardian, it's when someone can't take care of themselves and make their own decisions. And there's three major realms of decision making that, people might not be able to make for themselves. And that's personal decisions, medical decisions, and financial decisions. The guardian, they have quite a few duties. First of all, I want to just talk about a couple things they're not liable for. They're not liable for wards, actions, and behaviors. And a ward is actually someone that has been determined to need a guardian. They're also not liable for harm done to the ward by a caregiver. So those are two things that are often misconstrued. The responsibility of a guardian, there are many, but overall it's all about the well-being and personal care of the ward. The guardian should only make decisions the ward cannot make. The guardian should encourage the ward to participate in the decisions. Now that's what a good guardian should be doing. That doesn't always actually happen. Yeah. Guardians should consider the values and desires of the ward. They need to determine where the ward would live. They make the medical decisions, the basic needs of the ward, which are food, clothing, shelter, the financial management of the ward. And once a year, they submit annual reports. That's part of the job. And if the ward is going to be moving out of state, the guardian needs to obtain permission from the courts to move out of state. So that's a basic layout.
And Jeff, just to clarify, because I think sometimes people get confused, the ward doesn't always have to live with the guardian, right?
No.
Right.
Nope.
Okay. I think sometimes people think if they're becoming the guardian, that then that person has to live with
Yeah, nope, that's not true. Good thought, though.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Jeff. I'll go ahead and transition us into what it looks like to apply for guardianship.
Cool. I know that's probably hard.
It's a process.
It's a process. Get ready, guys. First, you will want to make sure that you are eligible to be someone's guardian. You do need to be at least 21 years old and know that your criminal history and your credit will be background checked. Then you'll go into the county where the potential ward lives. So not where you live, but where they live. You'll file court papers requesting guardianship. At that point, a county clerk will let you know when your hearing date will be, and they'll advise you what you need to do next. Typically, your next steps will be to file all of the paperwork. This will be your financial situation, the potential ward situation, evidence of why you think they might need a guardian. It's a pretty hefty stack of paperwork, just a heads up for anybody, but it just wants to make sure that, all T's are being crossed and I's are being dotted. You will be given a hearing date as well. So in the time between when you file your papers and you have your hearing date, you'll have a court visitor. And that court visitor will conduct interviews, they'll look through your paperwork, and they'll try to determine if this person needs a guardian and if you're able to meet those guardianship needs. And lastly, there will be a court hearing. You will be there, and the potential ward will need to be there as well. And a judge will determine whether or not the person needs a guardian and whether or not you will be that guardian. And then every year, as Jeff said, you'll just go ahead and file an annual report. And it's kind of like an update on those three areas Jeff spoke to. How's the ward doing personally, financially, and medically? And how do you fit into that as a guardian?
Cool.
That brings us kind of to a good point, because oftentimes a lot of people around this person are deciding whether or not they need a guardian. And sometimes people are assigned guardians who don't necessarily need it. So then what happens then? How do you terminate a guardianship? And I actually have a client who's going through this very experience right now. Before he had a team around him, a support team, some people determined that he needed a guardian. He was not yet 21. He didn't have any family. And so they identified a person from his educational past to become his guardian. And, 6 or 8 months went by, and this individual started talking to me and other members of his team who were put in place after the guardianship had already transpired. And he said, he's nonverbal, but he is very articulate. He uses a talker. He knows his mind. He knows what he wants and what he doesn't. And he's very capable of articulating that. And so he started talking to the members of his team and saying, I don't think I need a guardian, number one. Number two, my guardian is making choices and decisions for me that aren't even being discussed with me and are things that I don't necessarily want. So we had a huge team meeting. We discussed it all together. He articulated the very same things to all of us individually and again in the meeting. So we decided and agreed that absolutely he should have the right to be his own guardian and make his own decisions. And so we applied we sent paperwork to the courts, and the judge wanted kind of some backup medical support for him in place because he is very medically fragile as well. But other than that, he said, yep, absolutely. It seems like this young man is very capable. And so, in the next few weeks, the guardianship will be dissolved and he will be his own guardian. So it's pretty
awesome.
exciting. Yeah, it really is. It really is. So oftentimes, to Jeff and Callie, your points, sometimes it is very needed. Sometimes it's a misguided notion that most often has good intentions, but isn't maybe appropriate for an individual.
And as you said, it's not permanent if there's no need for it. So
yeah, exactly.
You can fix.
Well, I think this is pretty detail intensive, and I hope this gives kind of an overview of what this looks like. We are happy to point you guys in the direction of resources if you need them, answer questions anytime. We have more to come, so stay tuned, and we will bring you more episodes on self-determination. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Think Change. Talks, trainings, and tools to help in your work for or with people with intellectual and other developmental disabilities. Learn more at www.thinkchange.training.